Alright, this is Aaron Squire, and I'm here with the Chromancer, one of the devs, one of the people that's the heart of this project, George, and we're going to be talking about some Chromancer today. He just finished up with another pre-alpha test, basically, opening it up for people to look at it. Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple questions, maybe do a game, and yeah, we'll see how things go. If you're in channel, go ahead and you can ask us questions, and maybe we can get to those. Yeah. So what do we want to do? We want to start off with a game, George,
Sure.
or
Let's fire it up.
okay, I'll let you create the game, and I'll join your game,
Okay.
and we'll play the opposing decks, I guess, because that will allow viewers to see the most cards.
Sure. What deck do you prefer?
I'll try to play the Goblin one again.
Okay.
So far my record is 0 and 5 or 6 this game, so it's pretty
Well,
bad.
I don't have a great record either. But then I have to play Matt.
Amazing. Is he
He's
amazing?
amazing.
Oh
He beat me
wow.
the first time I ever showed him the game, actually.
Well, that seems pretty good. That reminds me of that time when I I went over to some mahjong lady's house, and the first time I played mahjong, I happened to beat him. So I'm playing the horde. All right, here we go. Create game, or you are creating the game. I'm joining the game. Join the
Yeah.
game. The
It should be
horde.
in the.
Join. There it is. All right, so we got it up. So starting it up here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I mean, the first thing that I usually tell people when they look at this is that it's an alpha and that it's pre-graphics and pre-UI. I try to sort of indemnify myself that way
Yeah, most
from any
definitely.
judgment.
Most definitely. Yeah, it is pre. Yeah, like you said, it's pre-graphics, pre-UI. So look at this from the mechanic standpoint. There's obviously going to be a lot of things I think that George and Matt are going to put into the game in the future. They're going to tip people off a little bit more as to what is going on visually. Some more numbers possibly on the cards or things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a work in progress, and there are so many things to do with the UI and card design and so forth that's still to come. It does get better gradually with time, but there's still a lot to be desired, obviously.
Right. Yeah, something that you'll notice here right now that we're doing. In order to play the cards, I can't necessarily click on the cards. I have to find them in this interface and then click on the field to do them. So I'm guessing that in the future that's going to change to just click on card, click on field.
Well, I mean, we're trying to present a bunch of different options for UI, and one thing that's important to us, despite having a very deep strategy game, is that it's possible to play the game relatively quickly. We don't want people to always have to take an hour to play or whatever. So
Right.
we do try to drive most of the UI from the game board. So there will be an option to literally never click a card in your hand.
Hmm.
The way that works basically is actually you right hand mouse click if you're using a computer. You right hand mouse click to cycle through all the different options you currently have, and then you can very quickly click wherever it is that you want the thing to go. Whereas if a creature is doing something, you just click that creature, and then you right hand mouse click through all his options, and then click where you want it to go. So once you kind of are familiar with that system, you can actually play the game relatively quickly.
Right. Excellent. I am actually playing this on Internet Explorer or Internet Exploder, which George and Matt are not fans of, as I understand it. Going to their website, but with you can see to my screen, there's a little bit more real estate than when we were playing the beta. He shortened the field down, which is nice to get some more action going on. So that should open things up a little bit more to maybe possibly move the inspector over, so we can see more when I click on a card what's going on. What do you think about that, George? Or
Uh, uh, Tell me that one more time.
so right now, like for instance, viewers at home can see this. George, I think you can kind of see this. So you can see right now I have Anabasis. Anabasis is telling me what's going.
Analysis. Yeah.
Anabasis is telling me what's going on, and then I have to click on Inspector to inspect my cards. So in order to see what the cards do right now, because there's not a lot of information on the cards, again, we're pre-alpha, I have to look. I have to make sure I'm clicking between these two. But I would like to have both of these up at the same time. So there's
Oh,
actually
I
some
see.
real estate over in this region now that we've shortened the field, because the field was, you said you shortened it by what, 2 on each side or 3 on each side?
It was 15 and now it's 9. Yeah.
Now it's
Although
9.
of course the fields are bigger at this point, but No, I mean, look, I mean, all that those panes on the right need to be somewhat modular, so that you can put stuff where you want it, basically. And
Right.
there's a chat window above it, obviously, but it should be the case that you can organize these things how you want, and we have a couple designs in the plan for that.
Right.
Um, I can pop over just to see quickly what you're looking at. Well, it's just showing me exploit. It's not showing me your screen, but
Yeah. Well,
that's all right.
you can also pull me up at my. You can barely hear. Oh, they can barely hear you, George. Let me
Oh,
turn up my. No, no. Let me turn up my volume a little bit. All right. Is that better? Try it.
testing.
Test. Is that
Can you
better,
hear me?
McNichols? All right. Well, I'm just going to turn you all the way up because we aren't playing any music. I have my stuff turned way down, so it should be better now. So let's just
I
keep.
hope so.
We'll just continue on.
Okay.
He's not talking. Huh.
I'm not talking, or
I don't know if it's better. Oh, great. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over. I have it. Let me. So we're going to get some echo back here. So just bear with us. I'm going to reload my page. We're going to get some echo back here. What is it, Elliot? Get some echo back here. What is it, Elliot? Okay, go ahead and try to talk, George. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
uh,
They're doing a commercial now. I have to.
oh,
This is
brother,
horrible.
typical Twitch, right?
Yeah, well, Twitch TV has the commercial, which they try to load up first. Hey, what? No. Can you go play somewhere else right now? Yeah, you got your computer. It's over there. This is so great. Oh, I'm so sorry for you viewers at home right now as I'm trying to get this technical difficulty ironed out. Okay, go ahead and try it. Try to talk now.
Can
Okay,
you hear
go
me?
ahead and try it. Try to talk now.
I am talking.
Go ahead and try it. Try to talk now.
I am talking. I hope it's not on my end. I think that it's.
I hope it's
My
not on
setup
my
is
end.
decent.
No, it should be fine. I think it should be fine. It's a little better, they're saying. Okay.
Okay.
So I think it should be fine. Okay, but basically, yeah,
I
it's
can
because
just.
it's playing through my speakers. I have to. I'm watching it on XSplit over here, and I turned it on the sound, and that's why we're getting some echo back there. But okay, they're saying that's better. Okay, awesome.
It's recording through your speakers essentially. I
Right,
mean, I can try to
essentially,
speak
yeah.
louder.
Right, yeah. Or I can try to turn you up maybe in Skype. I don't know if there's a thing for that. No, I think I have you all the way up. Okay,
Well, that's
well,
all right.
it's fine. I think we're good now, so we'll just continue on. All right, so right now we're setting up our board state. We set up our castles. Um, Go ahead and explain to me the castle because I'm going to mess it up if I try to explain it.
Well, sure. As you said, we're setting up the board state. The position of the game matters a lot. The three things that we're going to set up now are the castle, graveyard, and bank. And those quite literally represent our deck, discard pile, and pool of resources. They double as the targets of the game. So I'm trying to destroy yours and you're trying to destroy mine. And they actually are tied to the functions that are implied by deck, discard pile, and pool of resources. So that literally, if I destroy one of them, you can't use them anymore. Like if I, for example, destroy your deck, you won't be able to draw the rest of the game,
Right.
so on. So the game will change as you lose a stronghold, um, and it may not be entirely obvious from our playtest where we have very simple decks, but one of the beauties of Chromancer in the larger scheme of things is that we have a lot of card design that will let you deck build so that your deck is really adaptive, so that you're able to play and not automatically lose, even when you lose a basic ability of a card game. Because, for example, if your bank is destroyed, you won't be able to save resources from turn to turn. There's
Right.
some colors and some cards that you can still play with, even with that disadvantage, and so on.
So this is a little bit of a problem I was having earlier. So right now I have no creature to play. I can draw another card and spend the chroma. You can see over here I have 3 chroma left. I did my free draw for the turn. I played my land that I had in hand, which all the lands are free, right? For me to
They
play
are, and you
those?
can play as many as you want per turn.
Right. And you want to have lands out because your guys take damage if they're out here in the void.
Mm-hmm.
where there's no lands, which you can move them to these spaces.
Well, and they
So,
also for the income, obviously, you want as many fields as you can.
right,
But I mean, one thing that's cool about Chromancer is it's not really linear to play. You can do absolutely anything you want, more or less whenever you want, as long as you can do it. So you can draw cards, play some things, draw some more cards, move some creatures, attack with some creatures, draw some more cards, do some more things, etc.
right.
Uh,
So the viewers at home can see right now I have an income of 6. I have a whole bunch of
wow,
lands in play.
really
No
income.
chroma left for the turn, so I'm basically done with my turn. I have 3 cards in my graveyard, I guess. I'm not sure where those came from.
You deal 3 to your graveyard to start the game, just
Oh,
so it's
okay.
vulnerable.
Okay. And then I've got basically no creatures to play. So I could burn something, which I understand would give me more chroma, but there would be no reason to do that because the cost is 4 for my next card draw. So it looks
Right.
like I'm going to go ahead and end my turn here.
Right, so to be clear, you can draw unlimited cards per turn, but the price increases as you draw. So the first draw is 0, the next draw is 1, then 2, then 4. And the other thing to understand is that these strongholds, which we're eventually going to be attacking with creatures, the hit points of those strongholds is basically tied to the resource within. So, for example, the fact that you have 0 chroma in your bank actually makes your bank really vulnerable right now. Uh,
Mm,
of course, I don't have a creature out to attack it, so you're fine. But it's important to remember that if you draw down your deck, or if you run out of cards in your discard pile, or if you have 0 resources in your bank, you're vulnerable.
right.
At least for me as a card player, it's a little counterintuitive that spending all my resources early could sometimes not be that good, simply because of what I just said, that if I have nothing in my bank, it's vulnerable. So that's one thing to note.
Yeah, that definitely adds to the tactics of the game for sure. All right,
Yeah.
so it looks
Of
like I.
course, don't forget that as you said last turn, you can burn a card out of your hand for free instantly. So
Right.
I could be attacking your bank. You could pause the action and say, "I'm going to respond to that," and then burn a card out of your hand. And if you burn a card, it will leave play forever, and you'll never have it again. But you will instantly get 1 chroma. So suddenly your bank will have chroma in it, and that will mean that instead of destroying your bank, I'll just steal that chroma. So an attack on a stronghold mills the stronghold if it has something in it. If it has nothing in it, it destroys it.
Okay, here we go. I've got some play. I've got some play here. It's exciting. All right, so red
Got 4
hordling.
cards. Oh boy.
We're gonna we're gonna play this red hordling. I guess I can right click on it. You said right?
Well, what
Or
you can do is just, put your mouse out there and right click until the mouse icon changes to what you want. And
oh,
then
I
left.
see. And then left click to play
Yep.
that. All right, so we put them at this castle. I can only deploy them, or are you guys using specific terminology for that? Deploy or
I
um,
usually say emerge.
emerge? Okay.
Creatures can emerge from, by default, a normal creature can emerge from any stronghold. I have a little bit of a special ability in my deck in that I have sharks, which have an ability called Water Home, which is which enables them to emerge anywhere that I have a waterfront. So I have a little
Ah,
bit of a more positional control here, but still, I mean, given that your strongholds are 3 different locations, it's not a huge advantage.
right, right. Well, plus they're bound by that. That was what hosed me in a game earlier because I had
Oh
sharks all
yeah,
in one area and I couldn't get the land built up to get them where they needed to go.
it's super frustrating. I mean, they have a huge disadvantage in that they're tied to water. They have to be in water. So
Right.
something that a lot of our playtesters haven't yet maybe figured out, but which is the case, is that probably the best way to lock down the shark deck is just to destroy as many fields as you can.
Yeah.
Um, Although it doesn't always work. Um, it's not a great deck. Quite honestly, in our playtest right now, we have a few cards enabled that are exemplary, so people can play with the mechanics. But I really am hopeful that in our next playtest, which I hope is in a few days, we have a bunch more cards people can play with, so they have a little bit more diversity in their deck. I had somebody asking me earlier, uh, you know, since we don't have card limits on our deck building, you could put 20 of the same card in a deck. And the person was asking me, doesn't that mean that in order to have a full set, I have to have 18 copies of every single card in the
Mm,
game? And I said, well, sure in theory, but the reality is that it's rare that you're going to even want to have more than two copies of a card in your deck, because this is a game that has such broad sort of horizontal options for strategy that you always want to have as many different kinds of cards as possible, just to be able to deal with the opponent's deck. Um, so these playtest decks are terrible examples. I mean, they have like 4 cards in them. But anyway,
Right.
so
Yeah.
so you've attacked me on this. Our current
I'm
UI, which
attempting
will
to.
change.
I'm
Well,
a,
our current UI, which will change, is that we have this black and white window
right.
up here that
Yes.
says what's happening, and I've clicked it in order to pause the action, in order to respond to you.
Oh, I
Uh,
see.
of course, can I really do anything useful right now? Probably not. I probably will just let you attack my
Yeah.
graveyard,
Hit the graveyard.
and that's going to mill that card out of the graveyard and out of play forever. So you will have already removed one. I will just unpause it. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I mean, going to another game, which I'll probably talk about a little bit here and there. I hope you don't mind too much. Is Star Wars, the old Decipher card game, which used a lot of this. We're going to put some creatures down or some characters in that game and move them around, and then try to control the land. And when you control the land, it penalized your opponent for not putting guys there, and you would force drain your opponent, milling their deck, and the object was to mill their deck to 0. Um,
right.
so with that game, they also had no limits on the number of cards that were the same card in your deck. The only limit was your
Oh,
top end deck. Now,
right.
surprisingly or unsurprisingly, most decks didn't run more than 2 or 3 copies of like most cards, because like they had a lot of main characters that were like Luke
Right.
Skywalker or whatever. You could only have one Luke Skywalker in play, so if you
And
had
he was
three.
usually pretty good.
Yeah, and he was pretty good, or one Obi-Wan, or this and that. So
Right.
I'm sure that you guys probably have some plans for some named characters, some legendaries.
We do have
Um,
heroes, and they're really, they're really kind of an afterthought in terms of the game design. To be totally honest, you won't
mhm,
need a hero to have a successful deck.
right,
They're the only thing that has a limitation, and that you're only allowed one hero per deck.
right,
So you're not even. It's not even relevant if you have 2 different heroes. You're only allowed one hero per deck. Heroes generally will have mechanics that are not all that powerful individually, but actually improve the power of all the armies around them in some fashion. Um, that's kind of how those cards work, and honestly, they're just not even the style of play that works with every deck. So,
right.
um,
So you're saying if I put a hero out and you have a hero out, they stay in play if they're the same name, or do they kill each other? If they're
oh, that's a very good question.
Because
Wow,
there's so recently we've gone through this problem with Magic. I don't know if you knew about this, but the old legendary rule was if you have a legendary something and I have a legendary something, they kill each other. So there was no disadvantage to playing 4 of them, because you would play them to stop your opponents. Now they've changed the rules, so your opponent has a zone and I have a zone, and when I play my legendary and you play yours, that's fine. They can both sit and play. But if I play another legendary that's the same name as the one I already have in play, I get to choose one that stays alive, and the other one goes to my discard pile. And
right.
so that's the 2 schools of thought with legendaries that I've seen recently. So how do you feel about those?
Well, that's an interesting point. I mean, we haven't even really had the discussion what happens when the opponent has the same hero as you do in play. I mean, again, it's kind of an afterthought in our game mechanics.
Sure, sure.
I don't really see an issue with having both players have the same hero in play. I mean, it's such a minor aspect of our game. There are very, very few. I mean, a lot of deck builds aren't even going to have a hero. So yeah, I don't see any real issue with that. I don't think it threatens the integrity of play, and that's kind of maybe representative of the way we do things in general. If we don't have a reason to make a rule or a restriction, we won't in general.
Right. So here we're going to combat. I'm trying to attack your. I'm not even looking at like the power and toughness. I'm just.
No, that's all right.
I'm just
Well,
gonna.
that's
I'm
smart.
just trying to throw my Hordling at this shark, and it looks like your shark has 6 hit points, and my Hordling has 2.
Yeah, so sharks are good because they're cheap and have tons of life, but they are bad at a lot of things too. So you're, I think, playing the right way. Red tends to be a color that wants to be on the offensive in our game.
Mhm.
That's pretty true for most games, obviously. So your Hordling is going to have an attack bonus when attacking. So you're going to want to take the initiative. attacking him smart. Now, just in our game, movement is an instant, and I can literally just dodge. I can just move to the side if I want to.
Right.
Um, the reason that I wouldn't do that necessarily is because then you'll just hit what's behind me, which is my graveyard, and my graveyard's got no cards in it. So
Right.
you'll destroy my graveyard if you do that. I actually do have a card in my hand that I want to discard. So actually, that's what I'm going to do. I pause the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm instantly going to discard. So there's a card in my graveyard now that I don't mind losing. Still paused. I'm going to dodge with my creature. I'll move him over here. And then I'll let your attack go through.
Right, which will take that card out of the graveyard.
Yeah, we'll mill that out of play forever.
Right. So
And
now
probably stupid to admit, but the reason I wanted to let you do that is because I managed to deck build something that's not implemented in our playtest yet, so it's a pretty useless card. It's a great card, Ice Beam, but I couldn't use it. Anyway, that'll be up next time. So now, actually, here's something else that's interesting. I still have a movement point left on my creature, so now for
you
your
move him
next
back.
attack, I'm just going to move it back and block with him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's when you talk about sort of the expanse of the strategy. I mean, the fact that you can kind of do anything anytime, and most of it as an instant response, it's just funny. It makes the game play almost like a chess. It
Right.
makes the game play like a very
How is he going to react?
yeah. People are really going to have their own style of play, and so it's very very hard to just show up with a deck strategy and be like, I'm going to do this. It's more like I have to play my opponent. And people will choose certain decks based on how they like to play. Maybe they like to play keeping a distance from their opponent, in which case there's certain colors that will help them there, or maybe they like to play slowly and stall. But it varies so much by person, and perhaps the proof of that is that I get soundly whooped every time I play Matt, regardless of what deck I play, regardless of what deck he plays. So, anyway.
So I think I already attacked, so I'm basically done with attacks, right? I think.
For those two guys, yeah.
Right, those two
Normally
guys.
they will be highlighted in such a way that you'll see that they're exhausted, basically. Every creature gets one action per turn.
Right.
Unless it has some special ability. Movement doesn't count as action.
Ooh, that's interesting. Let's see what that. Or do I even want to?
And you've
I
got
have to have a creature
funny
there. Yeah, I'm kind of doing what I normally do with this game, and more or less, I'm more interested in the mechanics of the game and talking than I am actually playing.
That's all right. I mean, it is exemplary right now. The decks are. You'll get much more into it when we actually have a list of 50 cards that you can deck build with, and
Right.
you've got to choose.
Right. So it looks like I could. What have I got? I got a fire. I can fireball your guy, I think.
You could fireball him and kill him. Fireball will hit me for 4. Not a terrible idea, but you don't actually have a creature that's able to use it just now because.
Oh, because they're exhausted because they
Fireball's
already
an action.
attacked.
Right. And then your one guy who's new is new, so he's got
Right.
that summoning
Summoning
sickness.
sickness. Yeah.
We don't really call it that, but
It's that's the comparable term.
exactly, yeah.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
man, another Ice Beam. Who made this deck?
So.
I mean, I could try using it, but it would be kind of cheap. I'm not sure if it works properly. It would be very, very strong. It would hit all 3 of your guys and freeze all of them. It wouldn't be able to attack or move, and it would actually probably kill all of them because they have so little hit points. But you'd probably just dodge. Ice Beam is a very small range spell you could dodge.
See, I would have to know how to dodge. To dodge.
Yeah.
No, I'll try. I'll attempt to dodge.
Well, shall I try using it? This would be a little fun first for the playtest because we haven't
Seen it.
tried this in a playtest.
I'll dodge with one guy and we'll see if it kills 2. How about that?
Well, why don't you dodge with 2 and see if it kills 1?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the way spells work is you actually can dodge, but you have to have enough movement to get out of range, and most spells have a range. So this particular spell I'm casting now has only a range of 1.
Right.
So if you just dodge 1 space, you'll be out of the way.
Right. So kind of like an AOE, kind of like you could have like one that's like a range of 2 and it would hit both the guys next to it. Is that how it would work? It would hit both where my graveyard is.
An area of effect. I see. I was trying to figure out AOE.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I
Got all
figured
leet
that.
speak on you.
No, it targets a group, by definition. The spell.
Right.
So yeah, everything in space. And actually, I can't use it. It turns out you don't have an icon enabled for it, so my mouse will not allow me to.
Oh,
So that's all
them's the
right.
breaks. Yeah.
That's, you know what, it's going right to the discard pile.
So I guess I'll just ask you some of these questions while we're playing here. What are
Sure.
some of your biggest development challenges with this game? You think for other developers out there? I'm an aspiring developer myself, and
Hmm.
I know some people are trying to do Kickstarter and other things, and they're trying to
Right.
develop their own games.
Well, there are different answers to that. I mean, I hate to give an answer that's cheesy, and I apologize, but it's just the honest answer that the single most difficult thing I've found with launching a project like this is perhaps execution as opposed to design. And what that means really is just it's very hard to actually get a version one altogether.
Hmm.
Um, just because you're constantly designing, you're constantly making changes, you're constantly trying to update and edit, and sometimes that what you're putting together is not what you want and it's not the final product, but you really just have to push through and have something working. And I'm very lucky in that I have a co-founder who is extremely capable when it comes to coding, but also at managing these types of projects. And he's all about iteration and getting a working version up, and making something and breaking it and making something and breaking it. So he's pushed us through the development cycle, and without somebody like that, I wouldn't be able to launch the project really on my own. So not just because of his technical skill, but because of also that sort of administrative kind of managerial skill to actually get the stuff done. And that really shouldn't be underestimated. So I would just say, if you're like me and you're a creative type, you need to make sure that you put yourself in a context where you have somebody like that, or a context where you will you'll follow through on your intentions the way I forced myself to.
Right.
Um, so that's one thing. When it comes to actual difficulties of developing a game and so forth, I mean, you need some tech savvy, but there's no reason you can't do it on paper. Um,
Well, yeah, that's where I'm at with the game I'm developing. I actually have miniatures, and so like I have developed it, and I can play it at a miniature level, where it'll be very, very much slower. And so yeah, that definitely helps me out.
oh goodness, I was answering the question and I forgot to discard a card and save my graveyard. Well, that's okay.
Oh, but
That's all right. I don't really need it. Yeah, okay. Well, very cool. So, I mean, you start with stand-ins, and you worry about the balance and so forth. One of my favorite sort of writers on game design theory is named James Portnow. He's the guy that does extra credits for Penny Arcade,
right, yeah,
and
love that
great
guy.
guy. I was lucky to meet him and have a long chat with him at PAX last weekend, and great guy. And he wrote a particular piece for them called "So You Want to Be an Indie Developer,"
Yeah, I
and
saw it.
yeah, it has a couple of I think that sometimes because it's pretty general. There's a lot of things that are maybe like, okay, this is not, they don't go into great detail, and maybe this is obvious, but there are a few points that he makes in particular that are very, very right on. And um, one thing he touches on is the fact that, like, you are not under any kind of time pressure when you are sort of have a full-time job and you're just designing something,
Most
and you
definitely.
should really take advantage of that and really just design and test and break until you get to a point where you're really comfortable with the game mechanics, um, and then worry about the implementation. This has been a 7-year in the making project, and if I had really seriously tried to launch it 4 years ago, it wouldn't even look like this. It was like on a hex board, and the rules weren't clear, and this game is only really possible and at all good because of the amount of time that it's taken to decide to build it the way it exists now, um, allowing years of um, adaptation, really.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably one of my favorite parts about this game is that the amount of board building. I love building stuff. I like the fact that I can put some structures down and kind of build up the board. Obviously, right now all we have is forests and lakes, but I can see in the future the possibility for having a lot of different diverse terrain types.
oh yeah,
I can
there's
see
eight.
the in the future them you guys possibly including like a different type of graveyard, a different castle, a different
Oh,
bank.
absolutely.
I
Oh, those
mean,
exist.
yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff is going to be like other cards that you can add to the game and give
Yep.
more options for people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't mean to spoil card design before we release it, but there's, for example, we have a card in yellow, which is a structure called the Kopesh Capital, uh, Capitol. It's sort of like the capital building of like the Goblin Empire, if you
Hmm.
will. And you can build that, and it actually serves as a second deck. And what it does as soon as you build it is it shuffles all the cards out of your current deck into itself that are creatures. And you end up with two decks, one which is creatures and one which is not creatures, basically everything else. And anytime you draw or have a like deck effect, you can choose which deck you're drawing from. So it lets you control your game extremely well because if you want a creature, you can pick one. If you want something other than a creature, you can pick one of those. That's kind of a neat thing. Of course, you end up with two targets that the opponent can assault that you need to defend, etc. Um, but those are the types of things we can do with this kind of generalized system of how decks work and so forth. Okay, you're attacking my blade fin.
Yeah, try to get the weak guy. Pick him off. Pick off the weak ones.
I wish I had Chroma so that I could demonstrate to people that during the pause I can actually draw more cards to try to get a counter spell. I'd like some kind of defensive spell here. I'm
For
gonna
sure.
actually just uh, gonna actually just dodge.
Yeah, the spells in that one, the defensive spells are free. A lot of them.
They are, yeah. I mean, but are they? Because you have to spend a card.
Well, true. I mean, but they're more free than other spells that cost chroma, I guess. So they're
Absolutely.
chroma free.
They are. They
It's
are.
a yeah, that'll be a new card. You can use that. Uh, let's see. We talked about that. We talked.
Actually, I mean, it's funny that you point that out. I mean, we're so. I mean, we're card gamers, right? I mean, so we're so uh, interested in involving the community that I I mean, I don't have specific plans to it, but I'm sure that we'll have a section of our website where people will be able to come up with new card ideas. And I think we're the kind of guys that if you put up a card idea that's really good and we end up using it, we'll just give you 20 of them for free, and like you'll have your name on it. And yeah, I mean, like, why not empower people that want to be creative and part of our community in that way?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that's something I spent a lot of time with, of course, the people from Cryptozoic for the Hex TCG, and they are
Mhm.
the same way. I mean, it's nice to have developers that are going to be so receptive. I mean, if you were to submit a card to like Wizards, I mean, I'm sure they get so many, and they have to make sure everything's so balanced and this and that that they really
Yeah.
just there's not a lot they can do.
I think they're probably like the Simpsons at this point, where they have like a backlog of 20 years worth of material that
Well,
they're just waiting.
they supposedly create their sets ahead of time. Like they have the next 3 blocks already planned.
I'm
Supposedly,
sure.
I've heard that from different random, not people within the company sources. So I don't know how to take that, but probably not. Probably with a grain of salt would be best. So let's see
I'm
here.
sure there's some truth to it.
Let's see. Let's try use that fireball here. The Squall Tamer kind of gets me a little bit scared. The Squall Tamer's pretty beasty. It's like your offensive weapon, so I
It's the
kind of
most
need to deal
important.
with it.
Yeah, it's the most important card in my deck. It's smart of you to use a fireball. If I had actually given you the option to use some of the other cards in our play system, you'd probably put a couple of Dateyas in your deck. The Dateo is a demon that pretty much is bad at everything, but it adds damage to all the spells it casts. So you'd be able to take out my Swell Tamer in one fireball with him. And a Datya and fireball deck in our early testing is pretty darn annoying. So, oh, I see you're going to attack me too, are you?
No, I
You
just
should.
hit him with. I just hit you with the. I tried to hit you with the fireball. I guess I have to right
Ah,
click on the guy. That's what it is.
it looks like you're attacking me directly. It probably
Oh, there
went
we
back to the
go.
sword
That's what it
icon.
is. There we go.
Yeah, it's got to be the fireball icon.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Uh,
fine.
well, I can't dodge with this guy for some reason. Maybe that's because he's out of movement. Oh, wait, maybe he's not selected. This UI could use some work. Oops.
So I guess we were just talking about people submitting the stuff for you guys as far as the cards and things. Right now, the big thing with Kickstarter for you is the artwork because you're trying to add more artwork, build up artwork. So,
Yeah.
would you consider people from the community to produce art for you for nominal fees or for free? Free is always good, obviously. But if the artwork is good enough, I mean, what would you think about that?
Well, look, absolutely. If people in our community want to submit art, I think of that more in terms of custom art or creating your own artwork. that we can support in the game on some capacity. But we do have pretty fantastic artists that we are, um,
Parlaying.
yeah. I mean, we're we're using right now, and we're trying to pay for that art with Kickstarter.
Right.
And that said, though, I mean, one of the things that we want to do is we want to try to. It's going to sound a bit strange when I use the term monetize, but in order to make an online card game not pay to win, which is a lot harder than it sounds, one of the things that you have to do, the way we see it, is find ways to monetize the game that don't put pressure on card sales.
Sure.
And League of Legends is a good game that's not in our immediate genre, but they're a good example of how you can do things like sell skins, sell peripherals, sell horizontal options without harming the integrity of the game. So we're trying to do similar things to that. And what works really well in card games is artwork. If we have a couple of artists that put together their own set of art for a whole bunch of cards, we can have players have the ability to unlock that for a price on their account. And in so doing, we've made a sale that empowers artists on the one hand, but also doesn't harm the integrity of our game. It doesn't cause any power creep or pay to win because we're not selling cards. So that's one of the things we want to do. And actually, I've thought a lot about sort of a community art set that players vote on and so forth. And then each player will have the ability to unlock the community art set on their cards, or maybe unlock them one by paying a certain fee into it. And the fee can be online currency, but ultimately our online currency, some of it is sold for real money, and that's our primary means of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you guys got to eat too, right?
We do. Well, no, but I mean, but it's important not to screw with the integrity of the game. And the other thing, actually, that I should mention is that we do also offer a membership option.
That was another question I had.
Yeah, and membership should be thought of as like an opt-in VIP status. It shouldn't be thought of as something required by any stretch of the imagination. It's something that will let players, access members areas of the website or whatever. But we're very, very adamant about not being in a position where we're going to segregate free players from paid players, because actually one of the best ways to encourage free players to buy into the game is to have them hang out with paid players.
Right. Right. Yeah. I early on I realized doing online stuff that playing like the original EQ2, like when it first came out, the player base just was not there. As pay games keep increasing, I can see the model for internet going from you have to have a free portion of your model because you need to have population, and then you also need a pay portion of the model, obviously to sustain your business, and then also for people that work all day and have kids like me, but also have income so they can spend some things and accelerate maybe a little bit, but not actually
Right.
pay to win. I'm all about pay to accelerate, but not pay
Right.
to win. And I'm not talking pay to accelerate like right now with SoulForge. The big complaint is it's virtually impossible for people to get the mythic rares. So they call them legendaries. It's really, really hard without paying to get to those. And that to me is kind of like, okay, we're gonna go bowling, but you're gonna have to use the balls that are from the
Duck pins.
store there, or from they're at
Oh,
actually at the alley, instead of getting the right tools. Like, don't
right.
let's not give you a ball that's like measured for your hand or anything. No, you got to use
Well,
the one that's there.
look. I
So
mean, look. We're new to the video game industry. We can't deny that. We haven't run other video games yet, but we're not new to running a small business. We're not new to software design, and we're certainly not new to card games. So I think that we have some pretty good ideas about how to manage precisely what you're talking about. And for us, the bottom line is that it's not because we're naive from a business perspective that we think we don't need to do pay to win, which apparently is like the current mantra. Um, it's that we really believe that when you create a product that really serves people's needs the right way, it will be a more lucrative product. And that's there's a very specific way that happens. In the context of what we're talking about, when we say we're free to play, we understand that it's not just a game economics problem. It's actually also a game design problem, and moreover, a game design problem. So it's very easy for me to say, hey, this game is in theory free to play, but in reality, it costs you 60,000 hours of your time to compete. Well, that's not a free to play game because
Right.
that amount of time is not free. So,
Exactly.
so how do we solve that? We don't solve it just by saying a free player can have access to everything in theory because you can grind for the currency. What we do is we solve it by saying, we've spent 7 years designing this game. We know every card in the system. We know exactly what the cards are that are most essential for effective deck building, that are most essential for letting you win a game. And those are the common cards in our system. Those are going to either be free through starter decks or they're going to be extremely easy to get because they're common cards. So we are already taking pressure off of the system when we say that, yes, we do have some rare cards. They might be a little bit harder to get, but they are by definition peripheral mechanics that you don't actually need to be successful at the game. And on top of that, they're the type of cards that you would never need more than one of in a deck. So you're not going to be trying to, spend 5 months to collect one thing that's impossible to get. Also, we just don't have mythic or super duper rares.
Yeah.
We have our rarest cards are heroes that you can find randomly in a pack. You can actually choose to start with your own heroes, but you can find heroes randomly once in every I don't remember how many booster packs. It's in the range of 20, but our booster packs are small and very cheap. So
How much are we talking right now? Do you have an idea?
it's very, very hard and unwise for me to set a price
Okay.
point before we set that up. That's
Sure.
a reasonable question. I mean, it's our sort of our upper limit for equivalent currency is going to be $2, but we're looking at cheaper than that as well.
Okay.
I
So
think that's actually pretty standard for the industry right now.
sure, sure. So for me as a competitive Magic player, I used to tell people I have to spend $200 to $300 every 3 to 4 months to stay competitive at Magic. What do you think a competitive player that may not have a ton of time would have to invest in this game to play it competitively? Or what would be your target for that person?
Um, that's a very good question. I think that basically the answer to that question is we generally study Magic and then want to be cheaper than them because
Yes.
their product has more value essentially and more reputation. So we don't think it's going to be a reasonable proposition for us to say somebody's going to spend as much as they spend on Magic. I mean, that's
Right.
kind of the bottom line. So that's our starting point. But we're a free-to-play game. I mean, somebody should be able to actually spend no money at all and just a whole lot
And
of
still be
time
competitive.
and be competitive.
Right.
So those two sides of the coin are what we're trying to balance, and you can take it from there. I would think that if you are a guy that's really dedicated to the game and willing to grind and play and dedicate a lot of time, that you won't really need to spend more than $100 in that period of time.
Which is very, very reasonable, people.
It's very,
That's
very
that's
low. But
ridiculously
it's
reasonable.
but again, when we're talking about the objective of the game, and this is actually the crux of the problem with pay to win. People look at card games and they say, okay, what does pay to win mean? Well, pay to win means I pay in order to accomplish whatever the goal of the game is. But when you have a card game, the goal of the game in many ways is collectability in the first place. So a physical card game like Magic, if your goal is to collect the cards, then it's by definition a pay-to-win game because you have to pay to collect them, right?
Sure.
So how does that translate to online? Well, hopefully it means that you can actually pay in time to collect the cards, and that's that's the tricky thing. So if somebody's going to say, well, I'm going to try to collect 20 copies of every card, and that's my win condition. I mean, they're going to have to probably spend either a whole lot of time or more than $100, every few months, just because getting 20 copies of each card in a 300 card set is just not easy to do. I just don't think that it's reasonable or necessary for somebody to have to do that.
Sure.
That's kind of up to them, though. Again, Chromancer is a game that has very, very wide open mechanics. So you could theoretically put 20 of the same cards in a deck. You'd never really want more than 2 or 3. But if you are insistent on having the max playset, all the power to you. You'll have a lot of cards to collect.
Let's move this guy over here. Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting beaten pretty badly right
I
here.
don't. Well, yeah. I'm trying to get my first win ever at this game. I'm trying hard. I'm doing the try hard method right now.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
we have some pretty simple decks. I mean, if red gets an early advantage, it does well. If red stalls at all in the beginning, it tends to lose.
yeah,
That's
I had
I mean, that's how simple the decks are right now.
I had a game earlier which pretty much did that. Let's see here. I'm trying to see what else. So competitive play. Obviously, you're going to have some sort of competitive system eventually, like after way down the line. Maybe what 6 months or something after play or something like that. You
It's
think?
more dependent on the population size,
Right.
obviously, of the game than anything else. But yeah, ranked play is important. One thing that's not apparent from our play testing is that we intend to have, anytime you're not in a ranked game, have all the rules of the game appear in front of you when you start a game, and you can toggle any of them or adjust any of them. And the reason we want to do that is because we want actually to enable, in a sense, playtesting after we're live. We want players to be able to kind of bend the rules however they like and choose their own rule sets, and that will probably inform some of our ranked play decisions later on because we'll offer different modes of play, and that's the best way to do that is let players decide what the best rule sets are.
Right. I keep trying to use this fireball. I think I'm doing it wrong.
Just
I right
make sure
clicked on
none of
my
the cards.
guy.
Just make sure none of the cards in your hand are selected,
Oh,
and
okay.
then start by clicking the guy that you want to act.
Okay.
Basically, he should have a little like a white sheen, and
Yep.
then if you want to just do it the easy way, just click on the big icon, the big circle icon there until it gets to fireball.
Right, I'm on it.
All right, then start hovering your mouse, and you'll see that it's a little fireball. If you hover your mouse over the field, and then just hover that fireball over the creature you want to target.
See if it goes. No, I think I messed it up. It might be because I'm using Internet Explorer.
Oh, well, try refreshing the screen when in doubt. Everything's handled on the server side, so
Oh, okay.
should fix it.
Let's see if that helps.
Internet Explorer is a bit buggy for us.
It's a bit dodgy, huh?
It is a little bit, and I'm not the
So
programmer, but
optimally,
I know
people
for a
are
fact
going to
it's.
want to play this game in Firefox
Yeah,
or
I mean, I'd like to. I mean, first of all, the most recent versions of Internet Explorer supposedly we support, and I think that if there's an actual need for it from our player base, we will. I have to admit, you're probably one of two people that have ever used Internet Explorer for us. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that people have really migrated to Chrome and Firefox and so forth.
sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think it should be too difficult to enable everything ultimately. A few months down the road to enable everything. We're already cross-platform in the most broad sense of the term, and that you can use an iPad or a phone to play as well. Also, because we're entirely JavaScript, we're not Flash, we're not Unity, we're not something that doesn't run well on other systems. We're just a lightweight browser-based game.
Okay, well, I think that this is
Not
just one of
working?
those things. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to like it. It's saying no, but I can still attack you, so I guess I'll just do that for a while.
Okay. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, it's not showing the icon. It doesn't. I think it goes all the way to what I need it to be at, and then if I hover over your pawn, it doesn't have the fireball icon, and so like it must not be reading the action properly. But that's fine.
But you can actually get the fireball icon into your
Yeah, I can get it into
mouse.
the targeting reticle, uh, and then when I
But you can get it into your mouse as well.
no, I can't see it on the mouse. My mouse icon doesn't change.
But it does. The big circular icon does change.
On the bottom, yeah.
Well, you have to make sure that you have your creature selected at that time.
Right, I have a.
Um,
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of combat.
yeah, we are right now. Yeah.
Oh wait, did that do it? I selected the
Well,
creature, and
we're
then
in the
I
middle
just
of
left clicked it.
we're in the middle of combat right this moment, so you
Oh,
need to
okay. So we'll wait
end
for that
that.
to resolve.
Yeah. Fireball's an action, not an instant, so you can't just throw
Right.
it.
All right. Let's see here.
Otherwise, it would really be too good.
Yeah.
There you go. Dang. Well, you just cast it on yourself, though.
I cast it on myself. Awesome. Fireball
But
to
that's
my own
proof that you
face.
can use it. Yeah. Yeah, I think there needs to be a prompt that says, "Are you sure you want to cast a fireball on
On
yourself?"
yourself, yeah. Well, I guess that was
There,
kind of
there is
silly.
some reason to do stuff like that. We have a fire elemental, which is a creature that absorbs all red damage, but gradually fades and leaves play forever if you let it fade all the way. So, a common strategy is to play with a fire elemental that's destroying everything, but then you're casting spells on it, damage spells on it to heal it over time, so it doesn't go away. Um, that's a fun deck.
Alright, let's end my turn here, I guess. Let's
Oh,
see.
man, I am really
So,
10 banished cards. That is not good.
have you considered doing any type of PvE or guilds or anything like that in the game? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
that's kind of the big draw, I'm sure you know, for Hex right now, is the PvE elements that haven't even been released because they're kind of like waiting for alpha for that at the end of the month.
yep. Well, we absolutely want to do all that stuff. Drafting is very important and very fun, and something that we've designed the game to support. Um, in particular, of course, I'm aware of Hex as well, but in particular, Hearthstone, another game that's coming out soon by Blizzard, has a fantastic take on group play. They have their own version of an arena, which has some really sort of asynchronous elements to it that are brand new, that are very, very cool. So we're very keen on trying to enable that type of play. And I mean, this is a dual game, so one of the cool sort of outside of the box kind of versions of the game that can exist are group play type things, teams, tournaments. We're going to have daily tournaments. I mean, that's already on our docket for launch. But then other team style events. In particular, I've played on another very unknown game called Elements,
Mm.
a community run team game, which is very cool. And I'm hoping to implement something like that for us. In a brief nutshell, the way it would work is you'd have 12 teams, every one of them, which is the team of one of the 12 colors in our game. And say it's a team of 6 or 7 or 8 people, and those people in a bidding process at the beginning of this huge event choose all the cards that they want to incorporate in what they would call their vault. And that's a common card pool of, let's say, a few hundred cards, at least 50% of which need to be the color of their team. And then from that point on, they're allowed to take any cards out of the vault to a match. So they're allowed to deck build out of that vault, and then they fight other teams one-on-one. Winner, or loser rather, getting knocked out of the tournament and losing the 24 cards in his deck from his team's vault.
Wow.
And usually 6 of them or something like that, depending on the round, can be stolen then by the team that wins. They actually choose 6 cards out of the deck. So your vault and your card pool adapt as the game goes, and there's all kinds of elements of strategy because you basically want to create a vault at the start of the game that has so many of the basic cards in your color that, even if you lose a few early matches, you'll be able to go back to the vault, so to speak, with your other team members and still have the cards.
Scrape something together.
Yeah. So it's very, very cool because, you've got those teams that do well, not just because they have a high win ratio, but because they've sort of vault built well, and it just adds elements of strategy, and those are the kinds of things that we'd like to enable and
Sure.
play with.
So yeah, we just talked about multiplayer. Yeah, going back to Star Wars example, that was also a two-player game, and it took a long time to play games, where you had the board you had to build up and things. In fact, in tournaments, you were only allowed to play one game per round. It was so long. So with a game like this, what would be really interesting to see, I would think, in the future is when you have these multiplayer games, you're putting out a lot of these areas, and then everyone can move around in those areas, which I think would be pretty neat. So that's how it was with Star Wars Angry Birds. This is my son Elliot, everybody. You can play Angry Birds? Okay.
That's a good game. Hard to argue.
Okay.
I think The Office made that game more popular. I don't know if you're aware, but one of the characters in The Office was crazy about Angry Birds.
You, oh, yeah, I know. We're laughing. Okay.
Okay, I'm moving all my armies over here.
He's running away. Sort of. Maybe not. There's some tactics I don't know about that are going on right now. I can feel it.
I'm just trying to consolidate so that I can sweep across the land as one army and viciously
Yeah,
destroy
say
everything.
hello. Say hello to George.
Hi, George.
Hi, how are you?
See, he said, "Hi, how are you?" He doesn't have headphones on. I'm the only one that can
Oh,
hear you.
that's okay.
It's just like out in space, you know,
Right, it's identical.
just like space. Playing icon.
Why, why, George?
He is a funny George.
Uh, I try.
So, um, so we talked about the subscription option. So yeah, like what I was getting at with the multiplayers, we tried doing. You had to have 2-on-2 in that case, which is I think would kind of lend itself to this game, a 2-on-2. Maybe not so
Yeah.
much a three-player,
Oh,
but I think that would be interesting.
I've considered a 2-on-2 where you very simply just have, each player putting his castle, bank, and graveyard on the field, and it just gets a little bit more cluttered, but you have more targets and more creatures in that case. It would
Right.
certainly make the game play very differently, and we could then expand the board again.
Right. Yeah. That would give you a reason to make the board a little bit bigger.
Yeah, in that case. Um,
You say, what are you doing?
right. Let's get rid of
So
this.
there's going to be a draft mode, I'm guessing, as well. That's a popular online mode.
It is.
People.
I mean, it's popular because people really like to abstract, you know, uh, how do I say, collection from skill or playing.
Right.
And so, they don't want that situation where the guy who has the biggest collection and is a veteran always wins. And one way for most games to avoid that is just to allow players to draft so that they are looking at cards the very first time
It's a bad
and,
guy story.
playing with the cards that they're dealt,
Let's
essentially.
go.
We have less of an issue with that, and just in that, again, we have a very skill-oriented game in the first place. Um, and people are not just going to win because they have the biggest collections. But nonetheless, drafting is really fun because you don't know what you're going to get, and it's a different skill set when you have to kind of choose at the last minute which cards you want to play with and so forth. Um, so yeah, we want to enable that. Our game lends itself well to that. We've spent forever balancing and choosing the right mechanics for that. How many packs and how many cards and so forth. So we'll have regular drafts.
All right. He's gone. Yeah, yeah. The draft is another one of those things that definitely people feel like. I feel like my draft skills are a lot lower than my constructed skills for sure. Uh, and it's one of those things where I tell people, yeah, there's a high skill cap for drafting.
Well, some people are very good at it. No doubt about that. But it's a fun way to interact with the game, and those are the types of things that came out of emergent gameplay, as I call it, came out of house rules, came out of players playing games the way they want to, and we're all about that. One of the cool things that League of Legends did is I think it's called, what's it called, Arma or something. I can never remember the name of it, but there's a mode of play in League of Legends that was invented by players, and it became so popular that the parent company decided, hey, we'll enforce this ourselves and start offering it.
Right. The
So
ARAM mode, all
ARAM,
random, all mid.
yeah,
Yeah.
ARAM, not ARMA.
Yeah.
I just haven't played other games in so long, which is
Oh,
funny.
sure.
Working
Well,
on this
yeah,
project,
that's the other thing. As a
unfortunately.
developer, I know that it is your life. Your life is in this game. This game is you. It's a reflection of
Has to be.
you. And so because of that, you basically have to say, I'm going to give up a lot of other things right now.
Well, it sucks because I like playing other games, but we'll get back to that point eventually. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing that we want to do, and that crosses a lot of. I mean, we probably will take it further, if you will, than other games. When we talk about emergent gameplay, we also think in terms of our marketplace, our economics, if you will. I absolutely want to get to a point not just where we have completely free trading, where players can trade cards and you know, avatar accessories and online currency and tickets to tournaments or tickets to events that they themselves are running and have set the rules for, but literally getting to the point where a player can write a newsletter about the state of our economy and sell subscriptions of that newsletter to other players and have us enforce that transaction and give them, you know, page space. That's the kind of, you know, emergent gameplay that we really, really hope to engender and support. Shall I dodge you? Actually, I don't think I can. I'm out of movement.
Yeah, I think you just moved here. So another interesting thing that was back in the day, I'm so old now with Star Wars, is they used to have like vehicles. So you used to have like you know the Luke's Red 5 X-wing, you had the Millennium Falcon, and you had like
Mm.
the T-16 Skyhopper that Luke's always talking about, Bullseye and Womp Rats in and stuff like that. Would that be something you guys might consider to get some vehicles, and you could hop your little your guys into those vehicles, and then they could move more or give them additional power or something like that? Would that be
Well, it sounds very much like equipment, which is just
right?
not in our playtest. But we do have equipment that are items that you can attach to your various armies, and it makes them more powerful. It gives them better abilities, whether it's more movement or more attack or whatever. Um, I don't know that we have anything that you could specifically call a vehicle.
A vehicle, like yeah,
We
maybe like
might
a
have a
steam
magic
train.
carpet or something. Um, yeah, I mean, maybe it's not quite the same genre,
No, it's
but
not. But I mean, you know, there's definitely
it's a
room.
cool idea. I think of a vehicle maybe as a structure that can move,
Yeah, like
to an
Howl's
extent,
Moving
which is
Castle,
cool.
possibly. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Which?
It's an anime called Howl's Moving Castle, which was a castle which picked
Oh,
itself up and moved around.
I've been told about that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it's an interesting anime. um, Infinite combos. Are you guys?
I saw that on the list of the questions to prepare for, and I wasn't sure what that meant,
So
honestly.
that means, like, for instance, in Magic, there's combos where you can make infinite dudes and then go to your attack phase and swing in with them, for instance. And it's an all-in-one. It's basically I play two cards, and in one turn I basically win. That's most
Hmm.
of what I'm talking about when I'm talking
Wait, is it
about.
actually infinite or is it just like 20?
It's as many as you want to make, and so you actually in Magic you have to actually name a number. So I wanted to know your like given the way
Never
this
run
game is
across that.
designed, it would be very very difficult to get an infinite combo to work, but the chances of one coming up eventually, I mean, I mean slim, but it could happen. How are what are your feelings on like those types of combos or combos in general?
Well, you know, I mean, combos are. I mean, look, the whole thing, the whole point of card design, card game design, is to create a system that players are going to try to bend but not be able to break. But people are always going to break the system. They're going to find ways, and then you have to adapt to that and fix it and so forth. But you absolutely want combos. You absolutely want people to figure out, like they did in the first days of Magic when I was playing it, that you could use Channel and Fireball to kill somebody, um, because those are independent mechanics that are designed in sort of a general way, and it's the combination of them that makes the game intriguing. And you want people constantly searching for that. So I'm all for combos. When it comes to an infinite combo, which sounds a little bit almost cheap, um,
It's
you know,
degenerate, I think, is a good word for it. That's one that
yeah,
the president of Cryptozoic uses to describe
right.
those types of combos. They're degenerate.
I think that's the right term. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know that we have any mechanics in the first place that would put into place uh, the possibility for something like that.
Right.
Maybe that's the best way to answer that. But I mean, hey, I could be wrong. But I just don't see how you. I mean, everything in our game is really quite finite and quite
Yeah, it very
simple
much seems
almost.
that way for sure.
But I mean, we've got 8 cards in our playtest, and there's 300 coming in 2 months, so 3 months. Um,
So,
You can afford it.
how are your feelings on like ramp? Ramp is one of my favorite mechanics, like either mana dorks or some sort of a dork that might produce some chroma every turn, but that would be vulnerable to attack, or some sort of something that's going to put in more resources, possibly deck thinning for you. What are your feelings on that type of mechanic?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of mechanics like
There's a
that we
lot
have in our game.
in there.
It's going to vary by color mostly. We
Sure,
have,
as it should.
absolutely. Well, we have a little bit of a unique game in that you can destroy the bank, and that one of the prime uh, elements of strategy when you're deck building and playing is how you can not rely on your bank, or how you can deck build so that your bank's less important, or how you can target the opponent's bank. So we probably have a little bit of a wider range of mechanics along the lines of what you're talking about, which include things like cards that pay for themselves gradually. We have some white cards that have a penitence ability, which basically means that they more or less come into play for free, but they have to spend a certain amount of time paying for themselves, basically, before you can use them. We have other cards which literally just generate income. One of the most common blue creatures, which we haven't yet implemented, otherwise I'd have a bunch in my deck. Anytime they're at water, they generate income. So there are all kinds of different ways to do that. Is there a specific income generating mechanic that you were asking about? Because I didn't gather that.
Like something. Okay, so like rampant growth was a good one. That one of my favorites, one of a lot of people's favorites from probably Magic.
Sounds like a green spell.
It is a green spell. It in this game it might cost you probably like to be costed properly, probably like 3 chroma or maybe 4, because 4 is the general what you start with, right? About
Three is
4.
what you start
3
with.
is what you start with, so it would cost you your entire chroma, but it would let you search your deck and put a land into play, and
Oh, I see.
so then
Okay.
you would have 2 cards. Well, you would have the 1 card in your graveyard, and then you've got one less card. You wouldn't have to draw that land anymore.
Well, look, there are plenty of mechanics for spawning fields. Blue actually tends to be a pretty good color at that because it's so reliant on water. Most colors are not that closely attached to a singular field type. Blue is the most of all of our 12 colors. But there are all kinds of mechanics to spawn fields, to just create fields in open areas and so forth. Searching your deck for cards is also a specific mechanic that we have in some colors. Cyan is the color that tends to search the deck more often than others. They're usually searching for an item or so forth. There are other colors that enable you to actually see into your deck pretty well. There are some green effects and purple effects. I'm just thinking through our different mechanics.
Deck manipulation.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. There is an article, which admittedly is just scratching the surface, but there's an article I've just put up on our website called The 12 Colors, or all about the 12 colors, which goes into some detail on some of the different mechanics each color has, and probably gives a pretty decent idea of some of the answers to these questions. Oh, I'm going to lose the game if I don't do something right here. Oops.
Yeah, it
Shoot.
looks like it's pretty dire for you. It looks like I've kind of gotten into what do they call that zone where it's uh, basically I'm in League of Legends when you're making too much money and then the other opponent just basically can't come back.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's
that
how it
doesn't
is with a
happen.
game like this a lot of times, I would think. I mean, once
Yeah,
it's
I
at this
mean,
point,
there's momentum swings and so forth, but I mean the real, I mean it's not maybe apparent from our game here, but first of all we've been chatting and not really playing very
right?
quick.
Yeah,
Would have ended a long time ago, but the main problem with my deck is just that it's a bad deck, and that I haven't given myself the right options. I haven't given myself enough fields. I haven't played it well. Um, so
so many
it's
things
not
have
so
gone
much that this is
have gone wrong
representative.
all at the same time.
It's not so much that this is like representative of a prototypical game as it is that I just have had a very bad game,
Right.
and that happens. One thing that we do have, which is not obvious, is that there's a secondary win condition, which is that if you accumulate 100 chroma, you instantly win.
Wow. Now that is interesting. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about all the win cons. Obviously, if I destroy all your starting locations, that's a
Right.
win con. and now you're saying the 100 chroma. Are there any other win conditions?
Those are the only two, and the reason to have the 100 chroma more than anything, more than any other reason, the reason to have it is that uh, it prevents the game from stalling. Basically, I mean, if you've got a whole bunch of um, you know fields out, a bunch of income, a bunch of creatures out, and you reduce the opponent drastically so that he has only one stronghold left and he's desperately trying to defend it. It's sometimes just easier to stall at that point and just spend 3-4 turns just accumulate
Right.
income rather than trying to beat down that last part of your opponent's strategy. Um, so that's good. Also, there's
You gonna get
occasionally
something to eat?
times. There's
Sorry, that.
occasionally. Oh, that's all right. I was just saying there's occasionally times when you can be in a very close match. Uh, it can be you against your opponent. You're kind of in a standoff, almost a stalemate, and then suddenly the paradigm switches as you both realize at the last second, oh, you know what? I'm going to be the one to race to 100 first, and you kind of change your tactics.
Right.
So it's a good secondary condition. It also there's some decks that are literally just going to be built to do that. There are a couple colors that are very good at defense and stalling. Brown in particular is our earth and stone color, and it's a very good stall color.
So if I run my opponent out of cards, though, it's kind of like they're not going to eventually be able to play cards anyways. In which case, I'll be able to destroy all their stuff. So it's kind of a win con, just running them out of cards. But it's really, it's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Hey, this is a game where the primary win condition of destroying the three structures should be interpreted as really just forcing your opponent out of cards. I mean, that's kind of practically how it plays out, because
Right.
you're removing them from play in the graveyard. You're removing them from immediate use by putting them in the graveyard in the first place from the castle. So, yeah, I mean, 99% of the time, the way you win is you kind of get rid of all your opponent's cards from the game,
Right.
and that's just how it works. With a small deck size, I mean, losing 5 cards out of play forever is already a huge deal. If you use those cards really efficiently and well, okay, that's better than nothing. But it's not easy to come back from. I mean, it depends. It depends on your strategy. But if you're down 10-0 in terms of banished cards, I mean, just imagine that you're playing a game of Magic and you have 3 hit points and the opponent has 20. I mean, there's just not a lot of situations in which you're going to win.
Right.
I mean, certainly possible, but
Yeah, with that, some
depends on
sort
the
of
strategy.
combo-y deck maybe that's going to win all in one turn, but
Sure. Well, it might be part of your strategy in some weird way.
weird way. Yeah, I think there
You
is
have
like something where it's like if you have it in play and you're at 1 life, then you win the game.
right. Okay, well, I'm not
So,
sure we have that, but yeah, I mean that's a fine example.
uh,
So an annoying example, in my opinion. I think
right, yeah, that's
yes.
that's like the if you have 1 card and you're left in your deck, then you win the game. That's another one that they
I've
have printed
avoided in
those
the game
cards.
design. I've avoided in the game design any mechanic that says if this happens, you win the game.
Right, yeah.
Just seems cheap.
It seems a little silly. Even no matter how high the cost is. So we've got 12 factions for deck construction, deck balance. First, I think it'd be good if we talked about how deck construction works. We've already touched on this with the there's no limit to the number of cards you're going to have in a deck. But
Well,
beyond that, let's talk
there's
about deck construction.
there's a 24 card deck. And again, that's something that will be an option that players can toggle if they want to, but our standard play right now is 24 cards in a deck. But there's no limit on how many copies of a given card you have in a deck, so you could put 18 of them in the same deck.
Right.
You will lose every time. But
How many? So is there a limit on factions per deck or anything? Or
Oh
is
no,
that
not at all. And as you've noticed, it's a colorless resource, so you can play any combination of colors effectively. The reason that you wouldn't probably play a 12-color deck is because, to build a red structure, you need a red creature. To cast a blue spell, you need a blue creature. So
okay?
if you're gonna
Okay,
have
so it's
anything
the
besides
interactivity because everything is creature based, right?
it's mostly creature based. Yeah, so the interactivity it depends, as you say, on matching colors. And again, the playtest is not totally demonstrative of this because we've chosen, for the purposes of our play tests, two colors that actually can play mono, because demons are solely red and merfolk and sharks are solely blue. But the majority, the vast majority of creatures are dual colored, so they actually have two colors.
Oh,
So
they
they have
sit in
access
two
to
realms, so they could
yeah,
cast two different types of spells.
right.
Excellent.
An orc is yellow and red, a
Okay.
goblin is yellow and black, etc.
So that definitely opens up a lot of different
To
options.
an extent, it means that you're probably going to choose kind of what your play style is, and you're going to end up liking one or two races of creatures. You're going to
Right.
say, well, I like kind of eroding my opponent's resources, but I also like playing invisibly and kind of ambushing my opponent and stealing assets. Well, okay, that's yellow and black. I guess I'm playing goblins, which are yellow and black.
Right. Another question was counterspell. How do you feel about something like that? It would probably have to be creature based if you had certain creatures in play, maybe, or something like that. Like in going back again to, sorry, I keep going back to this, but the Star Wars one, they had Sense and Alter were the cards, and they depended on you had to run a test, and if the test was completed, if you had like a Vader on the board, it was a lot easier to complete the test. But if you just had like stormtroopers, it was like nearly impossible to get those cards to work. So,
Hmm.
what do you think about counterspell or counters in general, where it is that you just
Well, good.
basically deny your
Yeah.
opponent a spell?
Well, I mean, our game is not an asynchronous play game, so it's not like SoulForge, it's not like chess or Scrabble. It's a game where the majority of play, again, bad play test to show you this because we don't have enough spells in the decks, but the majority of play is action and reaction. And so there are all kinds of counters and augments and changes. Thinking through our game design right now, I don't think we have really a lot of spells that are straight counters that just stop entirely what the opponent's doing. They usually modify them or change the target or something like that. A counter spell would be very powerful, but I mean, if it were expensive, that'd probably be fine. Um, I'm fine with that stuff. I like the type of play that is action reaction because to me it deepens the strategy. That said, we actually also have a little bit of the mechanic that's been invented to replace counter spells in asynchronous play games, which is traps. Where you set up a counter spell of sorts before the opponent casts a spell, and then it's triggered by the fact that he's casting a spell. So we have
Like a trap.
yeah, exactly.
Kinda
We
like a
have some
trap.
mechanics like that, and we have some quite literal traps, which are fun to play in kind of a positional game where like you place a mine that's invisible somewhere on their side of the board, and as soon as they walk on it with a creature, it goes off. Or another type of trap, which we really enjoy, which is a card trap, which is really the fun tactic of purple and black cards tend to do that, where you will send basically another card randomly shuffled into the opponent's deck, and when he draws that card, something bad happens to him, essentially.
Right, right.
Those are great cards to use against decks that need to
Draw a
draw
lot.
to succeed.
Yeah, a lot of
So
cycling.
anyway,
I could
yeah.
definitely see that. I'm sorry I missed your question earlier. Simply Fervard asks, what does Corporeal Waters do in the Shark deck? I'm not sure how to use it.
Oh, Corporeal Water is a feat, so you can use it with sharks. You can use it with anything that's blue. It's an instant spell, so it doesn't take up your action. You can pause the action and use it as a reaction. It's actually a pretty good reaction because it gives you some extra life, and it gives you magical resistance. And magical resistance is not going to be relevant when you're sort of just fighting something, but it's going to be extremely relevant when you're fighting, for example, the red deck, and somebody's casting a fireball on you. If somebody casts a fireball on you and you have a Corporeal Water, you should probably just pause it, have the creature that's targeted by the fireball use the Corporeal Water, and it will cancel the fireball and give you life.
So when you're
It's an
saying give you
anti-magic
life,
spell.
which resource is that? Where does that fall into the resources? We've got Chroma. Where does life fall into that?
It's the actual creature's life.
The creatures. Okay, so
Yeah.
kind of like the toughness on the creature.
Exactly. Yeah, the creature will gain life points.
Okay.
It's a nice spell because it costs 1 and is instant, so it doesn't cost you your turn, and it's very very cheap and you can play it anytime. It's extremely useful. I always put a couple in a blue deck. Very good against spells.
Okay, well, I think we made it through all the questions except for the last one, which we talked about right before the programming, which is surprising. I think we've spent about an hour gaming here, so that's pretty good.
Great.
So I'll just ask the last question and then
Sure.
try to hook you up with some of these guys in the chat. Maybe, I don't know if you have something you could maybe pass their way, maybe. We've got He's not here now, but we have Simply Fervard and then Heg Hedgemony McNichols. I'll go ahead and pass you their Twitch names, and I don't know if you want to try to get in touch with them later.
Sure.
For sticking around, bearing
I
with
know.
us, and
I
all the
actually.
children noise.
Yeah, yeah, that's all right. Sure. Well, we're happy to hook people up with accounts and a little bit of VIP status if they want to, ask for it. Really.
Right.
Um, but yeah, actually, I know Hegemony is a friend
Okay.
as well, which is cool. So hello, and
He's not here now, but or at least he
uh,
doesn't. Oh wait, no, he's here. He's here. All right, awesome.
right on. Uh, sure. Just I'm curious what the last question is.
Last question is what we talked about right before we did the broadcast, which is how do you feel that Chromancer really stacks up against the other digital
Oh,
TCGs that we've got out there? So right now we're on the cusp of Hex.
yep.
The Shards of Fate is coming out. We just had the what's it called? Soul Forge was just released, and
Hmm.
that's doing somewhat well. I've played some other lesser known card games. We also had what's that other one? The one with all the hexagons. Um,
Furia.
no, it was I forget what it's called.
Well, there's tons of them with hex boards these days too.
Yeah, it just what's it called? It's like not shards. It's I don't know.
Oh, scrolls.
Scrolls.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's the Mojang game.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, see, you're entering the market. Obviously, this is going to be browser based, so I should be able to play this on my phone if I can actually play it on that tiny screen.
We'll
But
have a live version especially for phones, of course.
excellent, excellent. And unfortunately, I'm using the Windows phone, so don't murder me over that one either. Which
Not at all.
but
Totally
uh,
reasonable.
the yeah. So how do you feel about that?
Well, look, I mean, I can only be honest and say that we are card players. Man, we love this industry, and competitor or not competitor, I will be playing, and I've kickstarted and backed those projects you just mentioned, and will be playing them avidly. Um, Yay! I mean, this is great for us. This is what we want. um, and I don't think that it should come as should be considered to be a negative thing or us being confrontational or in any way down on other games when we say that we think we have some things to offer that are different or
Oh,
that knowing the industry we've decided that we want to go this way because we feel most games are going that way or whatever. I mean that's not at all our position. um, but yeah, I mean I feel that we have a niche that's really pretty unique, and I'm confident that we'll have our own player base and people who enjoy our game specifically. And so, I mean, I could perhaps take on the aspect that, yeah, it's very frustrating because I'm a guy that I realized 7 years ago that there was an industry gap here, and it's taken me this long to get the team together, and now suddenly everyone's in the industry, including the big players. And one game you didn't mention is Hearthstone, which is Blizzard.
Hearthstone. Oh yeah, that's a big player, but
Everybody's out there.
well,
So, but that's okay. I mean, look, it's good for the industry. It's a growing industry.
for sure.
It's like $2 billion now in sales online card games. It's crazy. So annually, and that's an estimate. But nonetheless, I mean, it's something that we enjoy. It's something we want to be part of, and we're very confident about our game mechanics and the fact that we really have some things to offer that are just very different. Our game plays so much more like um, it's a card game. It's not a board game, and yet our game plays so much more like a chess in terms of the strategy, where you can do anything. But at the question of how are you going to do it, and much of your strategy is based on identifying for yourself what sorts of moves you want to generally make so that you have a coherent strategy. And that's just very different from many other games where you kind of have to know each of the mechanics, and then kind of in a way, it's just kind of based. Once you deck build, it's kind of based on your draw. You're only, you're going to use this, and that because that's what you have right now. Whereas I think in our game, the way you can use each thing is just so varied. Um, Anyway, it's just very different. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, it's definitely finding a niche that other people haven't really gone back to. I would say, if anything, again going back to the Star Wars, they just did it not well at all, and you guys seem to be doing it
Well,
right. I mean,
I mean,
really are, because there was so many things that were wrong with that game, which I'm not going to go into. But you guys have this nice fantasy setting. There are so many chances for things to go forward, and so many different things you can do with this, the concepts that you have built up already. I really do look forward to seeing this game mature and get better in the future. So
well, there's room for improvement, and we're heading down that path, I hope. And we're conducting this session right now with I think it's 8 or 9 days left in our Kickstarter campaign. We're
oh
well
yeah,
on our way, but we still
everyone
need the
needs to get
support of the
out there.
community.
They need
So
some more art, and
we do,
and
we do.
so yeah, I mean, give them $1, give them $5, $15 to get you a starter deck, and like what, a
Everything helps.
couple of boosters. I mean, every little bit helps. I know our attention is like everywhere nowadays with Kickstarter and different things, but these guys are going to come through for you. I met George and Matt. They're putting a lot into this. They're traveling around. They're working hard.
Man,
These are not going to be
years of
people that
work.
are. I know Kickstarter has got a blemish lately, but these guys are not going to be the guys that are going to back out on you. I can
Oh
guarantee
wow.
you.
God
You know,
no.
I mean,
Uh,
this game is going to be good. And it's going to be a different level of gameplay. You're going to have to change the way you think to play it.
well, thanks. I mean, I think that that's really well said, and thank you for the vote of confidence. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, again, we are card gamers. We are part of the community, and maybe it's just the fact that we've lived the transition ourselves from physical to online play, and in some ways have been burnt ourselves many times by either pay to win or elements of products that we don't particularly like that have inspired us to kind of do better. And why would we ever be in a position to do that to somebody else? I don't know. I
Right.
don't think we would. So, thank you so much for the interview and the game. And man, really, really a pleasure to sit down and actually kind of enjoy the game and chat about it, not be stressed out running around doing stuff for an hour.
Yeah. Well, get back and make a good game, George. This is this is Aaron Squire signing off, saying God bless you and your families, and go and check out the Kickstarter. George, go ahead and give us the two the websites there. I'll try to throw them in
Yeah,
comments, and
sure.
then we'll
Well,
sign off.
the most important link to know is chromancer.com/Kickstarter. That's all you need to know. That'll get you where you need to go. You could also just check out chromancer.com. I'll point out that we have a section of our website called the Workshop, which is where we release our game art ahead of time, and you can see the just phenomenal art. I mean, phenomenal art that we have coming into the system, and that we're eventually going to put right into the game. And that's, of course, why we're kickstarting to get more of that great art. So check us out, chromancer.com/Kickstarter, and shoot us a message. We're very friendly. We'll invite you to a playtest and take it from there.
All right.